Hi there, good evening. Welcome to State of Affairs here on GHOne Television. I am Francis Abban. It's another Monday night. Yesterday is a public holiday, Eid al-Adha. We are observing the day for our Muslim brothers. And many of you have had to enjoy the long weekend plus this Monday. However, matters of national concern are not far from us in terms of what we fix our attention on. And that's why tonight we're with you in your homes to discuss yet another matter of critical national importance. The occasion has brought with it a very special guest for us today. He speaks for the National Chief Imam, but over the years and over the decades, he's been part of our fabric for governance and election observation and election management as well. He's played a pivotal role over the years. So who better to speak to tonight than Sheikh Aremeyaw Shuaib? He is the spokesperson for the National Chief Imam, but plays other roles as well for the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, among many other governance-related portfolios that he holds as well. We're happy to have him with us tonight. Sheikh, good evening to you.
Good evening. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Eid Mubarak to you.
Eid Mubarak and Barakah Salah.
Barakah Kadi.
Yeah, and belated happy Father's Day.
Yes.
I'm very passionate about fatherhood.
Yes.
And over the years, I have not been happy about how the celebration of Father's Day has been low-keyed. And the media, in my view, have not been fair to fathers over the period. And the hyping of the Mother's Day quite goes high, and that of the fathers.
It's not
and
as
that
much.
Makes me very unhappy. But I'm happy gradually it is gaining currency and the attention is coming, because fatherhood is so pivotal to our
societal
development. And so to render it something useless and something not worthy of respect, for me, is very worrying, especially as we get young people are growing who have potential fathers.
Yes.
And they must be given the sense that, look, when you are a young man, you get married. Before your marriage, you are just a young person.
Yes.
When you get married, your status of honor changes. You are now called a husband.
Yes.
That position of husband is an important position of honor, if you understand it. When the first child drops, you are promoted to another status of honor, and that's called father. So fatherhood is a state of honor that you must understand. And fathers are mentors. Fathers are pace setters. Fathers are inspirers. Fathers create vision. Fathers nurture, they bring up. Fathers are those who give defense to family. Yeah, and there are many fathers who have nurtured great men who have risen up. So naturally and biologically, as a principle, fatherhood, not too much about those fathers who appear not to have been that responsible. Yeah, and there are cases where I know mothers have, because of some issues, have detached children from their fathers and taken them away. And so fathers do not even have access to children, even when they are willing and they have the wherewithal. They have been detached. And so when I hear some of children say, I say, no, we'll have to find out the reason why. And secondly, he is not a father, the one who just by sexual adventure impregnates a young girl and runs away. Such a boy, if you ask him if he's told that the girl she tells you that I'm pregnant, he gets pregnant and runs away. He's not a father. No, he's not a father. A father is who is prepared, and when he hears the arrival of a child, he's so proud and wanting to receive the child and have a vision for that child. And in prophethood, Abraham, our great father, and even the biblical sense, our father. Yes. I'm using the
our heavenly father.
You see, so the figure of fatherhood is not something that can be dishonored and thrown away. Yeah, but this just by the way.
It's a nice way to open up our conversation tonight. Of course, the occasion requires it, and so we would have that conversation. But this show is brought to you with the kind of so much of MTN. MTN is everywhere you go. And MTN says to remind you that they have a brand new app out meant to make your life a lot more easy. It's called MTN Momo. You cannot miss it in the Google Play Store or the App Store. It's the yellow and blue icon. Download it now, and what it gives you is a chance to send money, receive money, pay bills, view your statements. Everything you will do electronically with payments, MTN Momo has got it possible for you. So download the app now, make use of it, and make your life a lot more easy and convenient. MTN is definitely everywhere you go. All right. Sheikh, I guess I can start with you. We've touched on fatherhood, which is one plank, but the other part has got to do with the season. Why today was a holiday, and most fathers had an opportunity beyond yesterday to also spend time with family on the occasion of the public holiday. When we speak of Eid al-Adha, what are we celebrating?
Great. I mean, thank you so much. In Islam, there are two very important or great festivals. We have the Eid al-Fitr and we have the Eid al-Adha.
Yes.
The Eid al-Fitr signifies the end of the 1 month fasting season, which comes in the 9th month of the Muslim calendar. The Eid al-Adha comes on the 10th day of the last month of the Muslim calendar, which we call Zul-Hijjah. It's important that I quickly state that this festival is a commemorative festival. What do I mean by that? It is not intended to wash off a certain sin or spill blood in order to atone for a certain evil that humans of the world have done. So when we pour the blood, then we are washing off the sin in local language, in musio. I mean, yeah. And for some time, it has been the mentality of many people. And so sometimes when you even offer meat, people are very hesitant to accept it. And so it must be emphasized that it is commemorative. Commemorative in the sense that we do something to reenact a certain act of virtue that was undertaken by the great prophet Abraham, which both Muslims and Christians uphold as I mean, the father of prophethood. I mean, so we all hold him in high esteem. So that which he did to give the fullest expression of his faith in God, and also to give the fullest expression, in fact, the farthest extension of his submission and total surrender to the commandment of God, as the way he demonstrated it, is what Muslims are made to reenact, to bring back to memory, draw that history back into the present, and to live it. What is that? Abraham lived to an advanced age without a child.
Yes.
And his wish was to have a child. And in the Quranic rendition of the story, Rabbi habli min as-salihin, oh, grant me of a righteous child. Grant me. So there's a desire, a strong desire. And he prayed in yearning. So to have a child was his inner yearning that he poured out unto God, and God answered. Just as God answered this prayer, God also subjected him to one of the hardest of tests. You have your only one son, and then you are asked that this son, not kill him, but in a very difficult way, put a knife on his throat, run the knife, and slit the throat, and pour his blood. And this is being done to satisfy and to please God. One may even question the God that we are worshiping.
And why that?
And so on and so on. But it was a symbolic act to demonstrate something and to really put a certain test on Abraham, that even today, as Muslims, as Christians, when we claim that we believe, as Muslims and Christians, do we actually live the faith? That truly we want to do what God wants us to do. I mean, you can see a lot of failures. The little test that comes to us, we're all over the place.
Including the test to sacrifice.
The test to sacrifice. But the hardest one is that your son, whether you say it is Isaac or whether it's Ishmael, a son born by a father, that same father must put a knife. I mean, the Quran calls it, this is a test so difficult in the fullest manifestation. Difficult. The father's compassion is put to test. The father's love is put to test between the love of the son and the love of God. The commandment of God and the love of the son. And the preference was given to the commandment of God in total submission. And that is the principle here. So when God wanted also to show us that as fathers, we must be compassionate. The compassion of God was made to descend through the presentation of a ram that came to replace the human being as a ransom. And the child was ransomed and an animal was slaughtered in its place. That animal is the symbol of sacrifice, which we reenact. So that's why we say it is commemorative. We bring it back. And then as a principle to live that life of honest and total submission and surrender to the will of God. Indeed, that is what underpins our faith in Islam. That's what Islam means, total submission and surrender to the will of God. The expression of which comes in the teachings which we have been given. Those teachings connect us with God and connect us with human beings. So peace with God, as experienced in the mind, in the spirit, and as expressed through the way we deal with other creations of God. So that is what Islam means. That is why, in a deeper sense of it, if you say salam alaikum, peace be on you, and you are killing, I find a problem with you. I have a problem with you. You say salam alaikum, you have a club, you are hitting your friend, you are killing him. No mercy, no clemency. You are pouring acid on your friend and you are still in the mosque saying salam alaikum. Salam, salam, salam. Salam means peace, and Islam means peace as experienced between the human being and God, and as expressed through the way we relate with the creations. In fact, indeed, even animals, infrahuman. So there's a story about what the Prophet told us, peace be upon him, that there was a man. Sometimes they say a man, sometimes they say a woman. The millennium is a man, but not for the discrimination. He was wandering in a wilderness, and all of a sudden he felt so terribly thirsty. Just as he was looking around to find where he can find water, he found a pond of water somewhere, and he went there and he drank to satisfaction, and he was so happy. Just as he left the place, he turned and he found a dog wallowing his tongue, wagging the tongue, out of intense thirst. He was going to die. This man went back to the pond, used his shoes, his footwear, filled with water, and placed it before the dog. And the dog began to lick the water to satisfaction until it wagged its tail like this in thankfulness. That act alone was enough to grant that man entry into the heavens. Into the heavens. So if we can be so loving to animals,
how much more to our fellow human beings?
How much to our fellow human beings?
Okay.
So that's exactly what we bring back to memory and to bring back to replay and make a justification of our claim to faith. Our claim to faith. So the act of sacrifice for us is symbolic, and symbols are like shadows. Symbols are not the real things; they are shadows. But the real things are there behind. So the principle is the real thing. The shadow becomes the signs. So when you slaughter, it's symbolic.
Okay.
But the real thing is what you must live that principle of true submission to God.
Okay. Now, the animals for sacrifice, is only rams, or there are levels and grades?
There are levels. Animals, basically, in fact, essential, a ram.
Okay.
A ram which is devoid of deficiencies like sickness, like lameness, like blindness, broken horn. Now, a wholesome animal, beautiful and worthy of the honor and glory of God. In fact, preferably, it must be plumpy, having white hair with some, blended with some black around the eyes, around the feet. Something so beautiful. Yeah. So in fact, it is the preferred. The preferred.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, because we also give charity and we want more of the meat, so it is said that if you are unable to get, and a number of people can put something together and buy a cow, so they can share about 7 people. Yeah. But as an individual also can buy that. So the ram, the sheep, camels are also used in some parts of the world. Of late, it's becoming a practice that people do transport camels, sometimes from Niger, from Mali, from other places to Ghana. The chief imam has on several occasions been offered camels to use for this, and gradually it's becoming a practice.
Becoming a thing
and those
now.
who have the wherewithal are able to. And
Okay.
so when we slaughter, when we slaughter, and I think that we must emphasize this. You see, the externalities is too much. So the substance, there's no attention. You don't give attention to the substance. But the form, so much emphasis on the form rather than the substance.
Okay.
Yeah. And this, it is working not for Muslims alone, even for Christians. I mean, as I like observing
across
the distance. I think we need to be true and honest to our faith. So sometimes there's so much emphasis on the form
and the
rather than the substance. So God says that it is neither the blood nor the meat that reaches God, but the purity of your hearts with which you undertake the sacrifice, which reaches Him. Your intention, the purity of all expanses of these heavens and the earth, the most comfortable place for God to dwell is the heart of the believer.
Yeah. So it's possible that for many Muslims who will observe the season, and form-wise will conform.
Yes.
If the substance of it in terms of the purity of their hearts is absent, their guarantee of making it to heaven is curtailed.
Not only going to heaven, but that the acceptability of the thing in the sight of God. How pure is it in the sight of God? Gets nullified. Yeah. In other words, you've just slaughtered and you've eaten meat.
But the value of it is absent.
The value of it is absent.
Understood.
And that must, you see, we must get in the consciousness of those who undertake this.
Okay.
Great respect for my people, but I, as somebody who experienced this, because I like that sometimes you evaluate yourself, evaluate your faith over the period of time, and see where your shortcomings are. And from practices, what's happening around us. I mean, you can see clearly a lot of failings that we can see.
In there.
We need to do a lot of work.
As a person of faith as well, I just had two questions to ask. I noticed by the narration you gave that Eid al-Adha and the matter of the Abrahamic covenant,
yes,
that there are certain commonalities with Islam and with the Christian faith.
Exactly.
So is the contrasting difference in the prophets that we believe in, yours being Muhammad and us being Jesus Christ, is that it?
If you take the pillars of Islam, pillars of faith, we have the pillars of Islam and the pillars of faith in Islam. In the pillars of faith, one of the pillars, 6 pillars, believe in the prophets.
Okay.
Not the prophet Muhammad. They believe in the prophets.
Yes.
So Islam believes in the chain of prophethood that in our belief ends with the prophet Muhammad.
Yes.
And that's why we believe in Jesus, we believe in Moses, we believe in Noah, we believe in Abraham. Look at me now, we are reenacting something of Prophet Abraham.
Yes.
So there is a text of the Quran in Quran chapter 33 or so, who said, remember that we took covenant from the prophets and from you. So because the address was to the prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, that's how now he has to, having spoken about the prophets, he says, and from you also. In other words, from you also we took a covenant. And then we took covenants from all the previous prophets. The Wamin Nuhin and from Noah, Ibrahim, wa Isa and Jesus. And Musa and Musa. And then he said, وَأَخَذْنَا مِنْهُمْ مِيثَاقًا غَلِيظًا, and we took from them a solemn covenant. You follow me? Yeah. So this is to give you a background to understand that Islam believes in the chain of prophets, and that's why we honor every prophet. In fact, and for the Muslim to say, I do not believe in Jesus or I disregard him, he is nothing. In fact, he loses a pillar of faith and he loses his faith completely. Interesting.
Interesting. Okay. The animals used for the ceremony, for the Eid, there are many who've said that they've become quite expensive, especially during this period. Do we know why?
Expensive?
In terms of price to buy it?
Well, we all appreciate the current situation in which we are. I mean, the economic recession, the challenges we are going through. Yeah, many of these animals are brought from outside the country. The dollar has risen.
Yes.
Yeah. In fact, it is also so with even the Hajj.
Yes.
I mean, even it's affecting the Hajj and so on and so forth. And so if you want to really change, cedis into dollars, then you can imagine how many dollars you would need to be able to import these animals. So it's understandable. But the beautiful thing is that Muslims are still showing commitment.
In spite of everything.
In spite of this. And I have said confidently in my sermons to Muslims that even when the Hajj price in Ghana here reaches $10,000, Muslims will go on Hajj.
That's true.
Because for us, it's a matter of faith. It is not, we are not slaughtering because we just want to show off, we want meat to eat. I mean, we are eating meat all the year round. So what does it make that in a season we are slaughtering? But because of our faith. Yeah. So yes, it's appreciated. We are in difficulty. But those who God have blessed and they have the wherewithal are able to buy. And indeed, the beautiful is the rich, the affluent are able to buy and supply the less
privileged as
less privileged ones.
Interesting.
And you'll be there and somebody will, send you a ram, knowing that probably you have a family, to make your family happy. He sends you a ram which you slaughter also to keep the family and the neighborhood
as well.
And the neighborhood, I like sharing. Please, Muslims, when you slaughter, don't forget your Christian friends. Now, in those days, many people are hesitant to accept the meat and so on.
But I think now today, things are a lot more relaxed.
Things are. Look, Ghana is a beautiful. This interfaith thing, Charlie, don't joke with it. In spite of our economic difficulties, we will come out of it. We will come out of it by the grace of God.
Inshallah.
But if we joke with our peace, and the pillar of our peace in this country is interfaith friendship, interfaith solidarity, mutual respect, and interfaith empathetic engagement. So you see us now, and it is really, really, really helping us. So if I even quickly add, that's why in an election year, we must be very wary of what we say about these religious differences. Yes. We must warn the political elite in their desire to win votes. They should not take advantage of existing social and religious cleavages so they can win votes from all sides. That is the strategy of the politician. Divide you so that he can make sure if he doesn't get the votes here, he can get the votes here. So for them, division is advantageous. See, the politician, every division in any community group, whether tribe, whether religion, is advantageous.
Divide and rule.
Exactly. Because they will take here and take there. But they think that when you are one and your mind goes one, then they will lose all of you.
Okay. But on that point, since you've opened that door, we might as well explore that. In this election that we're heading into, we have Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
Yes.
Father of the NPP. He's Muslim. I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the Fourth Republic, this is our first Muslim flag bearer.
Yeah, the first.
Straight to central for a major political party.
There was an attempt by Ali Muhammad of blessed memory, may Allah give him forgiveness. He could not get the nod.
But Dr. Bawumia
has had the nod. For
you, and you're the spokesperson for the National Chief Imam, does it matter that he straddles across the Muslim faith and also with the Christian faith? I've heard people say that a Muslim straight to censor should not be seen in church praying, fraternizing with the Christian faith. Is that, per the pillars of your faith, an aberration?
It's not an aberration. If there are good reasons why, for example, you find me in a church. I have entered into the church. I've entered into the church with the chief imam. I'm in a Catholic cathedral here on a certain anniversary. The chief imam was invited, and I went together with him. Apart from the fact that he entered into Christ the King. Because of the interfaith and my interfaith engagement, I also am invited. I'm in Presbyterian church. We have a public lecture in the Presbyterian church. I go there, I give lecture, and so on and so forth.
But do you practice their faith?
It doesn't make me less
of a Muslim.
Less a
but
Muslim.
Practicing their faith, does that dent your Islamic faith?
There's how you describe practicing the faith. For example, if I go and for example, I have to also behave like every Christian will do. Down deep inside me, that I am a Christian. Though I say I'm a Muslim, but I'm a Christian. Compromising my faith for example, then there's something wrong.
Where compromising faith will mean what? So, for instance, if a Muslim goes to the Catholic Church and the priest lays hands upon him to pray for him, is that compromising faith?
I mean, no. I mean, there are things that are done symbolically. Symbolically. I mean, priests come to the chief imam's place.
Yes, to greet.
I mean, to greet him. And then when they are going, they say they want to say a prayer for him. So sometimes I cringe a little bit. I don't know what will happen. So then I will whisper to his ears that, man, I mean, said they want to say a prayer for him. Let them pray. He said, let them pray. Reverend Lawrence Tete I've gone with him, and he has asked the chief imam, he wanted to pray for him, and he's held chief imam's hand, and prayed, and prayed. And as he was praying, chief imam says, Amen to it. Those acts are symbolic to show that friendship. There is something in religious studies we call, those of you who are academics in the study of religions, we have the phenomenological study of religions. Phenomenology is a method of study, method of research, which requires that you bracket your subjectivities and open up in order to understand something. Yeah, so those things are there. So symbolically, you can do something, and those one we call them the empathetic engagement. Empathetic engagement. That's what is
so
that.
For those who view Dr. Bawumia's visits to the churches, should it be seen within the interfaith empathetic?
Yeah, that is within the interfaith and empathetic engagement, and also he is a politician. I'm not a politician.
Yes.
So now, and I want all those who are listening to me, I'm not doing politics.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Muslim, but I'm not doing politics.
Yeah.
He's doing political tactics.
To cut across.
Dr. Bawumia knows that even if all Muslims in this country vote for him, he cannot win election. True or false? True. If all Muslims will vote for Bawumia, because of the statistics we have.
Yes.
Yes. So politically, it doesn't make sense.
To be on one side.
To be on one side. So he's doing politics. And people must view him from the angle of his political strategy to be able to get the vote from every corner. And like all politicians do. All the politicians do. They do come to Muslims. And some of them will come to the chief imam and request prayer from him. Chief imam lays hands on politicians. He lays his hand on politicians, and it's in the pictures. People know. Now, when I have met the chief imam, and find Muslim and Christian politicians have come, they squat, and give their heads to the chief imam to hold and pray. It is because of how they see him. But it doesn't make them less Christians.
Okay.
So. I hope my viewers will be careful and understand where I'm coming from. I'm not doing the politics.
Of course.
I'm not doing the politics. But if you ask me, having studied the type of our politics, then that's how I will analyze it.
All right.
For those who, yeah.
All right. Let me go for a short break now. When I return, we'll look to the national elections that's coming up. And as I mentioned, he's with the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO. We'll pick his thoughts on how we are preparing to sanitize our airwaves and also our utterances, even as we enter the thick of the political season. Also, the matter of electoral violence and how we should be tackling that matter as a matter of importance. We're back after the break. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching State of Affairs here on GHOne Television. I am Francis Abban. Tonight, our very special guest is the spokesperson for the National Chief Imam, Sheikh Aremeyaw Shuaib. He's also a member of the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, sharing his thoughts with us tonight on matters of national concern. The first part has dealt largely with faith and its connectivity even into our national politics and national leadership. That brings me now to the matter of the elections that we are going to have this year in 2024. Typically, when the process begins towards the elections, there are a lot of observers that look at the process and how things are going. For you being a member of CODEO, thus far from January to June, preparations by the election management body, the Electoral Commission, the conduct of the parties, and the temperature that we're seeing in the country. Does that give you confidence that we're in for a great election, or there are real concerns that you have that we need to address?
I mean, this year's elections has, I mean, come with its own uniqueness. I mean, it's so uniqueness, and the sort of tensions we have begun to witness gives us anxiety, trepidation, worry as we move towards. Even if not for the institution that I represent, at least for a person as a person, from what I witness, and somebody who is I call myself a peace activist. I'm committed to peace. I have an aversion for violence.
Yep.
Yes, and so on and so forth. So to see some of these things happening, even in limited voter registration, even in limited voter registration. In fact, our fear, our worry and anxiety has been given justification. That if we are worried and fear what can happen, we are justified. For in even limited voter registration, if people can draw cutlass, not just drawing cutlass, but cutting their fellows. I mean, spilling blood. I mean, yeah, if people can come out gunshots. Yeah. Even when you got vote transfers, we hear gunshots. I've seen somewhere, I mean, people are even invoking, you know, spirits, curses, and so on and so forth. Then it tells you that we are in for a kind. That's why I'm saying that this year's election comes with its own uniqueness. Why? There's a number of factors. One, this is the first time you have two Northerners. Two Northerners. Yeah. So put aside Muslim Christian. I mean, put that one aside. Two Northerners. They are standing for
the highest office of the land.
For the high office. And each of them belonging to the two most important, if you like, most dominant political parties, between whom the strength is so close. So close. Yeah. And which makes the competition so fierce. Because each party has the potential to win an election, given some small chance. Yeah. And so that's why now this is an election which we are also going into with so much of vigilance. Vigilance in the context of prevailing suspicion. And the vigilance, if not controlled, can slide into the area of violence.
But what has heightened the vigilance? Is it by dint of the conduct of the arbiter or the election management body?
I mean, elections, partisan interests are there. I mean, every party has got, and then you have the Electoral Commission, which is at the center, the umpire, which must see from the day one there has been a lot of suspicion. Even the appointment of the EC chair,
the deputies as well,
deputies and so on and so forth. So all those things, and then we got into the 2020 elections. What has been said, going to the court, and so on and so forth, and then the perception and the view about the judgment that has been passed, and so on and so forth, and then the feeling that look, our judicial system is not very fair. That perception is there. And the decision that probably we cannot even rely on them. So if you cannot rely on the court system, so what will you do? I mean, these are some of the things that makes us view this year's election as coming with its own nuances and difficulties. That reason for which, in fact, all stakeholders, the political parties, security agencies, CSOs, which one again?
Peace Council.
The Peace Council. Yeah, I'm a member of the Peace Council, and it's part of our preoccupation. And we've been trying to do a lot of work behind the scenes, especially there's something we call the trust building processes, which we have done. In fact, we have to do so, and finally to be able to plead. I would prefer to use the word plead. Just for us to ensure that we don't offend anybody. I mean, even with the NDC, which have their issues, their issues for withdrawing from IPAC. We have to really get involved, do what we call the trust building meetings, meeting the communicators of political parties, council of elders of the political parties. We meet them, engage with them. The chairman, we meet with them and engage with them, and all in an effort to really
build trust.
But
Sheikh,
and
I am sure you've heard
yeah.
those who've raised concerns, and by those I mean we've heard the NDC raise concerns about the role that the Peace Council has played in the past not being the same as today, where matters that they will expect the Peace Council to be vocal and speak against has not been happening. So has that made it difficult for the Peace Council heading into this election to have this pride of place, confidence, and trustworthiness in this process?
I think contrary to the way people are, we've tried to educate the public. I think there is a certain wrong perception about the role of the Peace Council.
Is it about the Peace Council's lack of, should I say, forthrightness and criticizing actions?
No. The Peace Council, in the first place, doesn't have the power of enforcement.
Yes.
So we don't arrest.
But it has the power of advocacy.
Advocacy, that's one. The Peace Council do not have judicial power. So we are not a court. So we don't pass judgment. But in the mandate that we have, we facilitate peace through certain mechanisms. We mediate, we manage conflict, and so on and so forth. You see, and for others of who are, let me say, experts in mediation, when you are a mediator, you don't talk too much. When you are a mediator, you build trust.
Is it to say
when you are a mediator, too much? So we talk behind the scenes, which most people do not know, but those whom we engage know. So the public need to be educated, and we began that. In fact, we even began doing media engagements, because the media must also understand the role and the mandate and the limitations of the Peace Council. You see, but if you put almost every duty on the Peace Council, where sometimes you have the charge that has to do with certain things, sometimes you have the courts, sometimes you have the police, which have got their own mandates to act. So because we are a peace council, that's why as a peace council, we even cannot go on protest. As a peace activist, I cannot come placard and then I'm joining any protest. Because, and when you are mediating, you must be careful what you say in public so that you can preserve the trust that you have. Because if you pass a judgment and it doesn't go well for the other, the next time, you must have the respectability to be able to invite factions in conflict, that they will respect you and come to you. So like if you are ahead all the time, passing judgment, the next time he's not happy with you. And that's why we prefer doing behind the scenes engagement.
Okay.
And really it has worked. And rather than what people think, I think that Peace Council has enhanced respectability.
And does it have the respect across the aisle for the NDC, for the NPP, heading into this election?
I have heard a few people, maybe some individuals. We don't deal with individual sentiments. He's an individual, he's an MPP, he's an NDC. He has said something offensive to the Peace Council. We're not dealing with such a person. But we're even dealing with the parties. And they know what we have done. The numerous, multiple engagements from Pediasi to Ada. In fact, immediately after the 2020 elections, we do a 3-day retreat at Ada, where all the political parties' leadership were there, the chairman were there. We came out with recommendations. Some of the recommendations that we have been asked to work on, we have worked on them, and major among them is the working on the trust building, because there has been so much of suspicion as an outcome from the 2020 elections. And going into the 2024, then we need to really do some work in order that we'll be able to draw people together and say that, look, and I'm happy that finally, we got the NDC to get back to IPAC.
But be that as it may, are you satisfied with how the umpire, the Electoral Commission, is conducting its operations, its communication, and its trust-building mechanisms for the parties heading into this election? I think again, in that respect, there are cause for concern.
I think for the ECU, what we have said as a peace council, because we are mediators, what we have said in publicly is to enhance the consultative approach. Because credibility of any election depends so much on public trust. Key to any credible, where you can characterize election process as credible, is public trust. And public trust do not come out of a vacuum. So therefore, you need to be deliberate and intentional about it. So what we have asked the EC to do is to work hard and improve the consultation approach so that, one, we can guarantee transparency, we can guarantee fairness.
Is that to mean that, in your estimation, the EC's level of public trust or the people's trust in the Electoral Commission is not as high as you'd want it to be?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, once you have different political parties and some of the parties say, look, we do not trust the way things are going. And because of that, they withdraw, for example. But meanwhile, their participation is very, very key, very, very important. So therefore, then we have a duty to see what is it that, if we are able to do, will enhance and open up the channel for all to see the process as very, very transparent. Let me give you an example, which we have expressed, and we call on the EC to be more circumspect as part of the trust building.
The mechanism, yes.
In the recent what do you call it? Limited voter registration.
Yes.
The figures that were churned out, I felt worried, though the EC came out to apologize and correct it. You see, in a situation where there is so much suspicion, you would expect a certain level of efficiency such that avoidable mistakes do not occur.
Yeah.
Because it is part of the trust building. Because we have emerged from the 2020 where there has been suspicion, then you would want to really now do it in such a way that the public, even the one who is most suspicious, will say, oh, now things these are the things that we want to see the EC improving upon, so that that trust is established and we can get all the political parties to be part of it, improve the transparency aspect of the work, much as we also call on the political parties also to respect the mandate of the EC. But in everything, there must be a balance. There must be a balance, because the EC also does not operate in a vacuum. It operates in relationship to political parties. And so therefore, the buy-in of political parties is very, very, very important, much as we also must respect the mandate
of the Electoral Commission.
Yeah.
Let me go for a short break now. When I return, I have a few questions that have come through from our listeners and our viewers tonight. We'll ask Sheikh Aremeyaw Shuaib before we wrap it all up. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching State of Affairs here on GHOne Television. I'm Francis Abban. Tonight, our special guest is the spokesperson for the National Chief Imam, Sheikh Aremeyaw Shuaib, and the show is brought to you with a kind of association with MTN. MTN is everywhere you go. And MTN says to remind you that they've got a wonderful app for you called MTN Momo. It's the blue and yellow icon. You come into either the Google Play Store or the App Store. Download it now and do all your electronic transactions and make your life a lot more easy with MTN. MTN is everywhere you go. Sheikh, we've talked about the elections. Two quick things before we talk about the Winneba case that's come up recently. The flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, says that the prices now that Muslims are being asked to pay for the Hajj is exceedingly high. In his time, we were paying north of about 10,000 cedis. Now it's about 75,000 Ghana cedis. That's too much. And that when he is given the mandate to lead the country again, the price will reduce and pilgrims will have to pay much less for that. How do you receive this news?
Well, I mean, as a government, I mean, that's the promise he's making. Why should I fault him? I mean, it's one that I respect. I respect so much. So even his calculations, even given the situation in which we are, and he have what it takes. He has what it takes to be able to reduce the Hajj fares.
Yes.
I mean, why not? I mean, I think we should be happy. We should be happy with that. But having said so, you see, Hajj is a religious duty. It's a purely religious duty. It is not a partisan matter. Unfortunately, in Ghana, we have made the Hajj a political issue.
Is it because governments run it?
Exactly. Me, and I see it publicly. That's why I have my reservations with the Hajj and how it is run.
How would you want it run?
I would want it to be left in the hands of Muslims. It should be detached from the politics of the day. The government can provide, like just anybody travels to any part of the country and have an embassy that does. And this, because of the sheer volumes of people, number of people who travel, a certain arrangement can be made to ensure that our pilgrims have a certain right for protection when they travel.
So
the government can do so.
If I understand you, the Hajj board should be managed, controlled, appointments made
by a certain body of Muslims where they have agreed.
And not by political appointments?
Not. That's my view. Not completely. And that is why now, the Hajj, I mean, I ask my brothers, great respect for all those who are listening to us, this thing. The Hajj board, one of my greatest worry about it, look, there is no accountability. There's no good structures. Just by dint of change of government, this group will just automatically go away. In fact, there's no handover notes. Can you imagine an institution that takes money from people? So if it takes currently $7,500, $7,500. Now, if let's say 6,000 pilgrims are going, if you are mathematically inclined, how much money are we talking about?
That's a lot of money.
This is the volume of money which Ghanaian Muslims are able to churn out every year. And you dump this kind of money in the hands of an institution or a certain person, and there's no accountability.
That's about $45 million.
Me, not something I can accept. And I have been in pain. Yeah, sorry I have come here and I'm saying this, but those who know my mindset know how I have spoken about this. And if Hajj is well managed, the advantage to Muslims in this country, you cannot imagine. Okay. But that's beside the point. But if our former president promises that if he comes, hooray! It will be a good thing. But we must understand that by the Islamic principle, God associates a certain condition to the performance of Hajj. God man istata'a ilayhi sabila, for those who can afford. For those who can afford. So if it rises, as I sit down here, if I don't have $7,500, the obligation falls off my shoulders. I'm not obliged to go. If I cannot afford, I cannot raise that. So if that is where we have gotten to, and I'm unable to go, it doesn't mean I cease to be a Muslim. And it is important that we emphasize this point, so that we know that the divine wisdom told us that for you to be able to go on Hajj, apart from the other conditions for the validity and for compulsion. Islam is a comprehensive religion. Validity for compulsion, validity for authenticity, for validity, and so on and so forth. They are there. One of them says that the ability to afford is a requirement. So if it rises to $10,000, this is a matter for those who can afford. So what is important? What shall we do to improve our economy to the level that prices of things come down? Not for Hajj alone, in my view, but just something unique, something different that all the flag bearers, when they come in, that's what I want to hear. Something unique, different, that will constitute the magic. That once we change government, we're going to see the sharp fall of the cedi, of the dollar. So that all other things, not Hajj alone, all other things will be affordable.
Quality of life.
Quality of life. So that the cost of living will come low, and the poorest of poorest person will be able at least to afford the little. But once economy remains the way it is, the recession, and the dollar keeps on rising, and the cedi falling, we have not addressed the issue of industrialization. Industrialization is one of the things that you can do to enhance export. Your balance of trade should be enhanced, which once you have not done, and your country is predominantly import economy. And all the country citizens, both present government and former, previous government, they all know this. Our country is predominantly import driven. So when you are importing even toothpick, if you are importing onions, I said in Twi, I say onion. If Niger close its borders, our supply of onion, we are in trouble. Because almost everything, the ram that we are importing them. What is it that we do as a catalyst that will change our economic fortunes, such that cost of living will come low? We want to hear this, something uniquely different. That will be the magic that drastically will change our economic fortunes. When that happens and everything comes low, then at least we are making a headway. So that idea, for me, good. It will be good if it happens. But I think our situation goes beyond the Hajj thing.
Unfortunately, I'm out of time. We'll have to end it here. But of course, I know I'll have a chance to speak to you again in the future. But I thank you very much for your time this evening and for joining us. Sheikh Aremeyaw Shuaib, the spokesman for the National Chief Imam, member of Kodeyo as well, and also of the Peace Council, joining us tonight for his thoughts. To all our Muslim brothers and sisters, once again, Eid Mubarak to all of you. Tomorrow, the working week resumes. I wish you all the best and have a great week. Thanks for watching State of Affairs. Thanks to the team for making this show possible. Have a good night.